Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Shabbat shalom lechem.
Shabbat shalom lecha.
Peaceful Sabbath to you all. We are speaking in the tongue of our ancient forefathers, the Hebrew language. That is our language. That is Hebrews, Israelites. And we ask that the Holy One of Israel, the power that we serve, the power of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, that he will bless those that are in our midst, that are hearing these words, these songs for the very first time in their life. And praying that Yah would even touch their spirit. And that he would, because at one point in time, many of us were just like them, coming into houses and places of worship like this and hearing songs and hearing the word of Yah for the first time. May Yah enlighten their minds and their spirits. All that we do, we give all glory and honor to the Holy One of Israel. At this time, my brothers and sisters, we welcome those that are new amongst us, and we welcome the family of Virginia, and we pray that Yah will continue to be with us. We welcome, once again, we welcome Imam Matikwa. We welcome Imi Miriam from Guyana, South America. Imam Kaskuya from Stanford. And we pray that the Holy Spirit will continue to bless and keep them. We welcome those friends of Mount Kiel, the poor Mount Kiel, sister in our midst. We pray that Yah, our Father and our King, that he would bless you to even hear the words. Sometimes you may not get it all at once. We're not trying to cram it to you. But that's why you have such intelligent people that you can even ask questions later on if you like, and understand that we are the children of the Most High. That ancient people, the ones that worship the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the ones that they speak about in the Old Testament, in the Bible, the Israelites, we are the original Israelites, the Hebrews. Hallelujah. This time we are going to sing the song of Thy Wondrous Works Will Tell, praying that the Most High would even bless our efforts and our attempts, even on this holy Shabbat day, and even in our life as we strive to get closer even unto Him. So let us sing of the wondrous works of Yah, because He is perfect, and He is the perfect being. And we pray that Yah will continue to allow us to be somewhat, if not like unto the Creator, but be an image and a standard of what He has put even in our midst. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
On page 10, and we find it here on the screen, please join me in singing the song, Lift Up Your Voices to Yah, because He is Yah that has even woke you up this morning to even breathe the breath of life this day. The heavens declare it, the glory is thine, the earth and its beauty, thrones on earth is mine. Oh, Yah, the Creator of everything. Truly we serve He makes it and when we do we'll cry unto Thee. For lo, when Thou givest, Thy mercies will see. Thou sendest Thy angel to show us the way. To Thee we say, we He make it dark and light. Sing of the might of Yahya, He made it dark and light.
Hallelujah. 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 Yah Eloheinu. Elohei Avotenu. Elohei Abraham Yitzchak Yisrael. O great and mighty King of our very existence, we humbly submit ourselves before Thee on this set-apart day, O great King, even the holy Shabbat day. As You have invited us into this day, O great King, we say Todah Rabbah Yahuwah Eloheinu for even considering us with all our shortcomings, even of yesteryear and of today. Salak Lanu. Forgive us, O great King, and allow us the pathway as we strive after the righteousness that You have even set before us as the light unto the nations that You have commanded us to be. We thank You for that opportunity, Yah, for You chose us and placed us high above all the other nations. And You have given us a charge, O great King, that is even in our midst in this day and this time. That we are a blessing unto those that are in our midst. Even understanding how mighty and great You are, O great King. As I even in a prior assembly was in the midst of brothers and sisters praising Your most holy and righteous name. And then there was a crescendo of alarms going off, warning of a tornado, O great King. Not one eye bashed, not one fear was felt in that building as we continue glorifying Your name. And even allowed that storm to pass us by, O great King. The testimonies are great, O great King. Our protection that You even place in our midst is beyond compare. We thank You for the knowledge that we have of You as being the one and the only rock, redeemer, savior that guides our pathways day to day. We thank You that You have even spared life this day, that You allowed us earlier in the morning season to exit our divine rest and re-enter the land of the living, where our steadfast journey is to continue doing that which is right and pleasing in our sight. Blessed be Your name. We thank You, O great King, for the elders in our midst, the ones that have even set a pathway that we even look up to, O great King, and attempt to set our strivings after the ones that have even walked that beaten path. Allow us to be righteous examples to our youth, the next generation, the ones that we pass this righteous baton to in this race, O great King, to make it back to that land that You did promise our ancient foreparents. Until we make it into that land, O great King, allow us to stay focused on that which You have placed in our midst. Thanking You in advance for allowing everyone that is on a journey at this time, O great King, to make it back to their tents in safety. And thanking You for allowing us to make it on these long journeys, O great King, as we oftentimes see casualties on the roadside as we travel. And when we make it to our destination, it even helps us understand how special we are as Your children. But now, Yahuwah, as the week to come, prepare our spirits to deal with all the tests that come in our direction, that test our humility, our discernment, and test us as children of the true Elohim of the universe. Allow us to even pass these tests, O great King, for growth and development's sake. All praise, all honor, and all glory is due to you, King, now and even forevermore. Hallelujah! 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 Your cry! Your cry! Your cry! Sing.
O Shema Yisrael, Yahovah Eloheinu, Yahovah Eloheinu, Yahovah Eloheinu, O Shema Yisrael, Yahovah Eloheinu, Eloheinu, Yahovah Echad. O Baruch Shemeho, Ma'akud Tole Olam, Ma'akud Tole Olam, Ma'akud Tole Olam, O Baruch Shemeho, Ma'akud Tole Olam, Le'olam Ha'ed. O Shema Yisrael, Yahovah Eloheinu, Yahovah Eloheinu, Yahovah Eloheinu, O Shema Yisrael, Yahovah Eloheinu, Eloheinu, Yahovah Echad. O Baruch Shem Kevo, Ma'akud Tole Olam, Ma'akud Tole Olam, Tole Olam, O Baruch Shem Kevo, Ma'akud Tole Olam, Le'olam Ha'ed. O Shema Yisrael, Yahovah Eloheinu, Yahovah Eloheinu, Yahovah Eloheinu, O Shema Yisrael, Yahovah Eloheinu, Eloheinu, Yahovah Echad. Hallelujah, O Baruch Shem Kevo, Ma'akud Tole Olam, Ma'akud Tole Olam, Ma'akud Tole Olam, O Baruch Shem Kevo, Ma'akud Tole Olam,
Giving thanks unto the Holy One of Israel for our lives and spirit that He has placed in our midst. Thanking the Creator for life. Because without life, we could not do this. Because they say that the dead praise not Jehovah, nay, nor any that go down into silence. Therefore, we say, let us extol our Yah while we have what? Life. Hello. Brothers and sisters, told our Yah for life. This time we have our usual psalms that we read on the Holy Shabbat day, the Sabbath day. Psalms being the 79th, 121st to 124th, and we conclude with the 148th Psalm. So at this time, let us even welcome even our Abba in our midst, our Kirby. He's going to lead us off with Psalm 79. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Please don't. Yeah, I was going to say.
All right, Shabbat Shalom.
Don't deny the mic.
Okay, we say, oh Yah, the heathens are coming to thine inheritance. They have defiled thy holy temple. They have made Jerusalem into heaps.
They have given the dead bodies of thy servants to be food unto the fowls of the heavens, the flesh of thy holy ones unto the beasts of the earth.
They have shed their blood like water round about Jerusalem, with none to bury them.
We are become a taunt to our neighbors, a scorn and derision to them that are round about us.
How long, O Yah, will thou be angry forever? How long will thy jealousy burn like fire?
Pour out thy wrath upon the nations that know thee not, and upon the kingdoms that call not upon thy name.
For they have devoured Jacob and laid waste his habitation.
Remember not against us the iniquities of our forefathers. Let thy compassion speedily come to meet us, for we are brought very low.
Help us, O Yah, of our salvation for the sake of the glory of thy name, and deliver us and forgive our sins for thy name's sake.
Wherefore shall the nations say, where is their power? Let the avenging of thy servants' blood that is shed be made known among the nations in our sight.
Let the groaning of the prisoners come before thee. According to thy greatness of thy power, set free those that are appointed to death.
And render unto our neighbors sevenfold into their bosom their reproach wherewith they have reproached thee, O Yah.
So we that are thy people in flock and the flock of thy pastures will give thee thanks forever. And we will tell of thy praise to all generations.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Toda, it's truly a blessing to be here. And it's truly a blessing to see a full house and see everybody here. Toda. Each and every day I have to wake up and give Yah the praises.
Amen.
Because of the blessings to be alive.
Okay.
Each and every day. I don't take nothing for granted anymore. Because things can be much worse than what they are. So I am very grateful each and every day. And I'm also very grateful when I come here and be amongst family.
Hallelujah.
And see friends.
Amen.
And people who I truly respect and enjoy being around. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Let us even welcome Emor Afternoon for the 121st Psalm. Hallelujah.
I lift up my eyes into the mountains, from whence shall my help come?
My help cometh from the Lord, who made heaven and earth.
He will not suffer thy foot to be moved. He that keepeth thee will not slumber.
Behold, he that keepeth Israel doth neither slumber nor sleep.
Jehovah is thy keeper. Jehovah is thy shade upon thy right hand.
The sun shall not smite thee by day, nor the moon by night.
Jehovah shall keep thee from all evil. He shall keep thy soul.
Jehovah shall guard thy going out and thy coming in, from this time forth and forever.
Amen.
Just want to say Toda Yah for everyone being here and for a safe journey down. And wishing a special day will come and be blessed by the Most High.
Hallelujah. I'm assuming that a special day comes at the arrival of your great grandbaby, right? Hallelujah. Gotta make that clear. Hallelujah. Brothers and sisters, let us welcome our Shomer of the Bayit. He is our watcher. Shomer Eliezer. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Psalm 124. Hallelujah.
That's it, right?
If it had not been for Yahweh, who was for us, that's Ezekiel 27.
If it had not been Jehovah who was for us, when men rose up against us,
And they have swallowed us up alive, and their wrath was kindled against us.
and the waters had overwhelmed us, the stream had gone over our souls.
The proud waters have gone over our souls.
Blessed be Yahweh who has not given us as a prey to their teeth.
Our soul is escaped like a bird from the snares of the fowler. And the snare is broken, and we are escaped.
Our help is in the name of Yahweh, who made heaven and earth.
Amen.
Blessed be your King and your verse.
Amen.
This is the other faces here. Working us up today. As we give praises to the Creator. Think about those who don't have the same mindset as we do. We pray for them. They come to the fold of the Creator.
Hallelujah. Last but certainly not least, let us welcome Emor, even from Guyana, South America, the Hebrew family in Guyana there. Our brother community, hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Shabbat shalom. You know, it's a magnificent day, right?
Amen.
Gosh,
Absolutely.
every day, hallelujah. Brother Kirby just said, I'm telling you. He said, you know, it could be worse. Well, when I fell on that concrete and everybody came running out to see what happened, you know what the sister said? Well, at least you didn't break your neck. All righty then, I'll take that. You know what I'm saying? Because this is how my life has always been. When things are happening, there's always something else happening that's worse. And I'm so grateful and thankful to the Most High. You know, I had to laugh at myself. I was in the aisle at the store at what's the name of that CVS the other day, and it was so funny that I'm doing in this aisle. This is the aisle my grandmother used to be in. I'm going to say, it's amazing. This is life. This is how it goes. You can right around, you know. And I had to stand there and I just started laughing at myself again. But that is what the Most High wants us to do. He wants us to understand that I am going to be there. But like it says in Psalm 32, he said, I'm going to be there. He said, I'm going to give you a little mocker. He said, but I'm watching you with my eye. I got my eye on you. You all right? So, I'm not going to go thus far. And I am so very grateful for that. You know I am. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Praise you, Jehovah, from the heavens. Praise him in the heights.
Praise him, all his angels. Praise him, all his hosts.
Praise him, sun and moon. Praise him, all ye stars of light.
Praise him, ye heavens of heavens, and ye waters are above the heavens.
Let them praise the name of the Lord. For he commanded and they were created.
He hath also established them forever and ever. He hath made a decree which shall not be transgressed.
Praise Jehovah from the earth, ye sea monsters and all deeps.
Fire and hail, snow and vapor, stormy wind, fulfilling his word.
Mountains and all hills, fruitful trees and all cedars.
Beasts and all cattle, creeping things and winged fowl.
Kings of the earth and all peoples, princes and all judges of the earth.
Both young men and maidens, old men and children.
Let them praise the name of the Lord.
Hallelujah.
His name alone is exalted. His glory is above earth and heaven. Hallelujah.
And he hath lifted up a horn for his people, a praise for all his holy ones, even for the children of Israel, a people near unto him. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. I bring greetings from the family back in, I started to say Charlotte, Guyana. You know, that's amazing. But yes, that's true. From Guyana, South America, same thing. It is. You know, we're from, four corners. We just left some brothers and sisters, and they were saying they were from Mississippi and Cincinnati and Chicago and Alabama. And I'm like, what? When the Most High, he never lied. Scattering you to the four corners. But look what he's doing. He's bringing us back again. He said, you're going to do just what it was that I sent you to do in the first place. So now, you come back, you're a little broke up. You're a little broke up. You're coming back. And you're coming back this time, and you're humble, and you're free, and you feel good about doing it this time. I don't know what we were thinking the last time. That would never let us go back here again. But I'm very grateful, and I'm very thankful for the loving kindness of the Most High Yah. And may he keep us in the fold, because there's a lot of distractions out here, y'all. There's a lot going on the planet. But you know what? The Most High said he will come on your right side and to come to your left side. It will not come nigh unto you.
Amen.
Keep that forefront. because that's going to be very important in the days to come. Because we ain't seen nothing yet. But I'm very grateful that the Most High allow us to see each other. That iron sharpens iron. That we are going to be, we got to count yourself in. Count yourself in. I heard Nehemiah say something earlier, saw Nehemiah. He said, listen, when you're saying your prayer, make sure that you put it into the positive and make it sound like as if it's already happening. It's already happening. Because that's the way we want to feel about it. That's what we know. The Most High has made a promise to Israel, whether it be us, through our children, our children's children, it's going to be. Todah Rabah. Shabbat Shalom.
We give our thanks to all of our psalmists today. We pray that the Holy One of Israel will continue to be with each and every one of them, and may He be with the entire nation of Israel all over the world. As we begin to commence with our segments of the afternoon, before calling up the first speaker of the afternoon, I'm going to ask you to do the Most High the honor of standing, Shah. And we sing the song for us, Israel Stand. Hey, Queen Israel, because Israel, we have to be established once again as a nation and as a people before Yah. So we sing this song, here are we, Yah, because of thy goodness. For our souls we commit to thy hand. Help us, please, for thy promise, our fathers. Thou wouldst once more cause Israel to stand. And then we say, thou would help us to stand in thy glorious name. Thou would help us to stand and erase all our shame. You said, send thy mercy and light forth throughout all the land. By the power of thy promise, Yah, cause Israel to stand. And then we end out with, we had thought that our Yah had forgotten as we prayed in the enemy's land. But he sent forth the angel of courage, so he gave us the spirit to stand. And again, we say, thou would help us to stand in thy glorious name. Thou would help us to stand and erase all our shame. Send thy mercy and light forth throughout all the land. By the power of thy promise, Yah, cause Israel to stand. So we sing that song even at this time. Here are we, Yah, because of thy goodness. Help us wait for thou promise, our Father. Now we're on towards Israel. Thou would help us to stand in thy glory of faith. Thou would help us to stand and break all our chains. Send thy mercy and light forth throughout all the land. By the power of thy promise, Yah, for Israel to stand. We have known that our Yah has forgotten. When we pray in our deep land, what we pray for, we take of our promise. Lord, I gave us the spirit to stand. Thou wilt help us to in thy glorious name. Thou wilt help us to stand and erase all our shame. In thy mercy and light forth throughout all the land. By the power of thy promise, Lord, Israel to stand. Thou wilt help us to stand in thy glorious name. Thou wilt help us to stand and erase all our shame. Send thy mercy and light forth throughout all the land. By the power of thy promise, Yah, for Israel to stand. Thou wilt help us to stand in thy glorious name. Thou wilt help us to stand and erase all our shame. Send thy Brothers and sisters, at this time, let us even welcome our first speaker of the afternoon in this segment, even Moreh Yahya. Ben Moreh Mishael Hakadol. Ben Naphtali, Ben Israel. Hallelujah! 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 Hallelujah!
First and foremost, as always, I would like to give thanks, praises, honor, respect, loyalty, allegiance to the true and living power of our forefathers, of Abraham, Yitzchak, and Israel, even Yahya. And I bid you, in the tongue of our ancient forefathers, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom Lecha.
I think I got it covered.
Aharon.
All right, perfect. I think I got it.
Rub it with your finger.
Just had to figure this thing out. How are we today?
Let's be honest.
Don't sound too believable. But how are we today? All right. God's great.
Amen.
I had the opportunity to be at the Brotherhood Retreat last week. There are no words that can properly describe the strength and the camaraderie and the
Unity.
I mean, it was amazing.
All of the above.
That the Most High is working. I mean, we come from all different understandings and different doctrines, but we were there, and there was no problem. Not one problem. There was over 100 brothers. Like, you know, that's kind of strange. You could get brothers like that, and you don't have an issue. And it's been something that has been. I think this was the 5th one. So the 5th one, the 5th retreat, and it was beautiful. You know, there were so many things that happened there, and Coincado, he asked me to, you know, do a breakdown of a couple words, which was strange because I was going to do that, you know, something similar to that today anyway. So it kind of aligned with that, and you know, kind of prepped me for this week. You know, I prep all the time, and you know, study different things on how I want to correlate today's time with our ancient ways, with our ancient understanding. You see, this language is what is called the living. It's a living language. You know what that means is everything about it is alive. Everything about it is alive. Even from the letters that we use to spell our name and to spell different things that explain certain things is alive. The letter, like I said, each letter itself is a character in itself. And it explains, a lot of times we look at things for the surface, but it's a whole lot deeper than the surface. Okay? And this is something that we have to understand. This is why we have to return to our language. We have to make it of the utmost importance. And I know a lot of times it seems like he's always talking about the Hebrew. He's always talking about the Hebrew. But you can't be Hebrew if you don't speak Hebrew. So you can feel, you know, I know it feels like, you know, I'm beating a dead horse, but this horse is very much alive. So, you know, I'm going to continue to push it. It's something that my father lived by. Like, we were not, I mean, we were forbidden to speak English in our doors. from the time we got home from school where they spoke English, I don't care what you spoke at school, when you walk through this door, there will be no English. And at the time, I used to think he was really mean. Why is he so strict about this? Like, what is this? Like, everybody, all the other Hebrews are speaking English. Now I'm like, all the other Hebrews are speaking English, and it's not a good thing. You know what I mean? So, you know, I give thanks to the Most High for instilling it, you know, in my father to be relentless in his mission to ensure that the language is preserved among us. So, one of the first words that I broke down was this word here.
Push down.
I wrote it.
Pressing hard.
Oh,
all it starts to do is go to a mark.
give it a good pluck. Good pluck. Pluck it, good pluck.
I'm not saying bye-bye.
Good pluck. Pluck it.
Little technical difficulties. All right, here's the word. I have to be very delicate with this thing. I don't know what's going on with it, but okay. So, for those of you who don't read Hebrew, this is called the script form. You know, a lot of people write in the block form, but it's not. It's called script form for a reason. So I like to write it. I like to use it. So this first character here is Aleph, right? This one here. Okay, that's Aleph. That's Bet, and this is what is called a noon. And in script, this is a noon sophit, which means the final noon. Okay. Erase these markers here. Okay, so.
One at the bottom too. That thing is confusing.
That's all. So, this word is even, right? Commonly known as rock, stone.
Mission, we clear, man. That's from BT, we understand.
All right, I understand, right? So this is known as stone, rock. But there are a lot of things that we use, even commonly in English or other languages. We use things that are commonly found in nature to describe certain things. And event is one of them. So we, there are plenty of times that this was used when you say event. It's called a rock, but it's also a stronghold. Also something used for solidifying foundations as well. It's literally something used to secure the foundation of skyscrapers and everything else, smaller. Because of its strength and its ability to secure the foundation. So, why that is so important, it's also used, I'm pretty sure we heard something called Ebenezer. Or Ebenezer. Right. That means the rock of my help. So we know that they're not literally talking about a rock, a rock that you find on the ground. There are other different types of stones that are used as well too. So when we say Suri, you know, Suri, Rego Ali, you know that song? So, that's right. So when they talk about rock, they, you know, that tool is, you know, commonly, you know, called flint or something a little harder, a little sharper. It's a strong stone that's used to, you know, forge weapons as well. But we're going to talk about this event here. And why this is so important, you know, as we're talking about foundation. Okay? There are things that we, you know, that have to be in order and in place. Okay? And who is, I'm going to ask our Nashim, who's the head of the household? Supposed to be. See? Come on, don't start nothing. I didn't ask anybody on this side. I asked somebody on this side. I want to volunteer. And I want an explanation why.
One question, nobody wants to
Everybody don't raise your
answer.
hand at one time now. Wow.
Is it that hard?
Come on, stand up.
Rebellion in the ranks.
I wasn't volunteering. Well, what I feel, I would always want my niece to be the head of the house.
Right.
Because he's the one that leads the nation.
Right. Okay.
And, but you have to make him feel that he's the head.
I understand.
You know? But you know, that's what it is, you know, and I would always want someone that I can follow, that's strong, that have, that serve the Most High, and that have our welfare.
Right.
And put our welfare first.
That's right.
And show us love.
That's right.
You know,
That's
and
correct.
And I have.
That's
you know
correct. All right, so that translates to be, you know, Ish, right? Or father, right? Father. So that would be these first two letters. Okay? The head of the household. And do you know that literally, these two letters explain and mean head of the household. This Aleph indicates the head or the lead or the first. And this Beit literally means house. This is our language. It's a living language. And a lot of the times we look over these things and we just say it and we go over it, but there's deeper meaning to our language. Our forefathers were no fools. They were very in tune with the earth. Okay? So that literally means the head of the household. This is a glory to the Most High. This language that our forefathers spoke is unlike anything. It's the oldest language still spoken right now. There's no older language that people are still speaking. None. Do you think that the Most High, this is a mistake? No. The Most High left it for us. He left breadcrumbs. You got to sometimes spell things out here. I'm going to punish you, but I'm going to give you a way back. And we have to remember that it is of the utmost importance for us to be able to learn and digest this thing properly. We cannot allow other people to tell us what our language means. It's in us that when you begin to study, I'm telling you the truth, that when you begin to study in your language, and you are serious about it, the Most High opens doors that you never even knew existed. I'm telling you. So, that's Ab and Ben. All right, I'm going to write this over. I'm going to try and delete it.
There you go.
Good work.
You got it, man.
All right.
You
Good.
got the hang of this.
Yes, I do. I got it now. All right. All right. All right. I don't really like that one. It really does. I don't know what's going on.
Push down front. There you go. All right.
All right. Okay, so we got that's the final noon, right? So, so you got Av, the first part of this word. Remember, what was the meaning of this word together? Rock, stone, foundation. Rock. There you go. Let's not forget now. Okay. So now, and as it ain't Boaz.
You said that's an olive, that's a bait, right?
Yes.
At what point will that bait turn into a bait?
It's in how you speak, dialect. I mean,
Define it without.
well, it's just basically in how you speak. You know, in pronouncing certain things. I mean, as you speak, you begin to learn, and certain dialects, they don't even change it into a bait. Certain people don't, they leave it as a bait. I've heard it as well. So, you know, I believe it is interchangeable, just like with the pay and faith. But what happened is, when our enemies, other people took hold of the language, that's when they added other letters to make it easier for them to understand, to make it easier for them to use our language. So a lot of it, we just have to continue to use. I like to use the more ancient more than the modern. But now I do study the modern. But we do have to be careful, because even a lot of how they pronounce the kuf, how they pronounce the wow, you know.
Wow.
Exactly. You say wow, wow, vav.
Wow. Kuf.
You know, it's kuf, kaf, and chet is all pronounced the same way. And that's for them. That's coming from a European dialect to make it easier for them to speak our language.
Right. Teach.
Okay? So so the first part is Av, correct?
Okay.
Now, as a father and as a man, it is important for him to set a foundation, to solidify his legacy. Right? And how would a father secure his legacy? Through, okay. Namely, how is a father's seed carried on? Do you know that these last two letters are son? Do you see the significance in that? And then Ezer, rock of my help, right? This is the foundation. And that's something that you literally use in foundation. Like I said, you can go to ruins in Israel right now and find what they would call avanim. Rocks. See, now, we have to understand, why is this important? We were an agrarian people. We were an agricultural people. We were very in tune with the earth, and these are the ways that we expressed ourselves. These are the ways that we expressed ourselves. That is why, like I said, in Noon, let me explain this one as well. See, Bai, that's the bit. In Noon, it means to a continuance. A continuance, or a sprout, an offspring. And this literally is an offspring of the house, right? From the house, from the father in the house became the offspring. You got to understand that this is our language. See, and I wanted to do this because I know these are words that we use all of the time. We use them very frequently. And we don't really think about it because we were never taught to really dissect it like that. But we have to. There were our ancient language. That'll probably be another day. That each letter meant something. It's no coincidence that when you speak of your hand with this yad, it begins with a yud. It begins with a yad. It begins with your hand. Your eyes begins with the letter that says eyes. The word house, just like we went over, begins with the letter that says house. This is significant. And it's very important for us to begin to understand these things. This is not light. Now, you know, like I said, they say I speak a little hard sometimes, but you know, I'm very passionate when it comes to this. I don't think I'm more passionate about anything else, really. I'm really not.
Heavyweight stuff, dude.
It's very important. Now, you know, we can't have a foundation without, you know, our women, our mothers, right? And they have to be of a certain caliber, right? So we're going to say, all right? Here we go. All right, so this is the aleph, right? And this is a mem sofit. What is this word? For those who know how to read. Im. Right. Right? Which means? Mother, right? And so this would be the head of mem, right? I'm going to explain something now. And I'm going at a slow pace. I don't want to go too fast. I hope, did you get the first word? Was the first word and the breakdown clear? Does it give you a new understanding of how our language works phonetically?
Absolutely.
Okay. Now the word aim, right? The mother. See, this literally is saying, and this is the head, water, right? Say it, what is that? What's the significance behind that? I'll tell you. Now, how did each one of us get nurtured and brought into this world? How? Through the mother, right? In what? Through what? What is it called? Through the womb, right? All right. What do they say happens right before the mother is about to give birth? The water breaks. Look at that. Right? Now. What happened? Yeah, the water breaks, right? Now, I hope I'm not talking something that's strange to people, right? So now I'm going to do this because I'm going somewhere with this. Okay, so the water breaks, right? What did I say a noon was? What a continuance or offspring, right? Right. So we're going to put that there, right? What does this, for those who do speak, what does this say to you? Well, amen, right? Something we say all the time, right? What does that mean? It means let it be so, and it is so. It is also, see, as a mother, now what makes this so significant? As a mother, she has to be dedicated, trustworthy. She has to be an artist of many sorts, correct?
Yeah.
This word also means that very thing. Same thing. Got to understand it. This is our language here. This is a person who is dedicated or an artist at something. Those three letters right there, that root letter. Amen. Aleph, Mem, Nun. And all in how we used it explain what it was. This is the foundation of our language. And it is very key for us to understand these things. That a mother, as a mother, and as a father, the father has to be the rock. But we all know that the mother really runs everything. We know that. We do know that. We know that. But we still have to maintain, you know, our place. We know that you run everything. You teach the children, the first teachers, the nurturers. This is important. See, these letters, like I said, we have to know that everything has life. This is not a dead language. This is not a dead people. We don't read anything dead. We don't praise anything dead.
Living. Life is what we promote.
Only the Most High, the living God. It says the living Torah. This is the living language. Everything is about life. We don't need tombs to prove that we live. We right here.
Amen. Amen.
We don't need to read hieroglyphics to prove that we were here. We're right here. There is no people on the face of this earth that experience what we experience and still survive.
That's right.
There are countless nations that don't even exist right now. And there's a reason why we refer to our stuff as alive and living. We serve the living God.
Living on.
So this is why we have to understand. We have to get out of following, the doctrine of the people who they put us in. Why would they want you to truly find out this information? Why? Because what would that mean? It would mean it's the end for them. We have to understand that we have to be able to apply this to everyday life. As a man, as a son, as a father, and as a son. The father won't be anything without the son, nor can the son be anything without the father. That's why he said, you be a father to the fatherless. Be a husband to the widow. It's very important. And we have to begin to give the youth, give the next generation something that they can see, that is tangible, something that, because a lot of times when you read, they're gonna listen to you. But how, you know what they think? How does this apply to my everyday life in school? When people coming up to me, asking me if I want to smoke weed, asking me if I want to take pills. How does this apply to me?
Break it down.
So we have to give what we've been telling them life. We have to make it applicable to right now, so that they can take the lesson and say, well, I can use that this week. It is important. It's not about anybody up here.
That's right.
The job of the person up here is to the people. That is his job. We were talking about Kohen, right? We were talking about that for the past few weeks, right? All right.
Break it down.
All right? All right? So, what does Kohen mean? Priest, okay? That's the first answer I want to hear, right? Kohen means priest. See? This is what we have to understand. People, we have the youth, and we, as a kid, you even looked up to, all of these men, and man, I want to be a Kohen, man, I want to be a chief, and I want to be this. These are very good things to look forward to, but what you have to understand is these men worked. The first letter in Kohen is Ka. That's because he's doing a lot of work with his hands. Cutting up those things, offering things. And that head, that's the breath. That's his breath. That means his life. This is his life. And his offspring's life. Kohen means to do a service. Right. That's what that means, literally. To do a service. So as a man who is up here, you have a service to your people. This is not about anybody who is standing up here. We have to understand that, and we have to get it through our head. You think that when you get here, you get to sit back and relax and everybody else do everything. That is not the position of the person who stands here. If that is what he is doing, he is misusing his position. It is this, you have a service and a duty to your people. That's why you go to the Kohen for counsel. That's why if you're having a financial issue, you should be able to go to the Kohen. That's why you were supposed to take care of the Kohen so that when these people did come to the temple, that they were able to be taken care of. This is a service. A service to Yah. It's not about anything else, it's not about anyone.
That's right.
We have to get these things in our head. What makes being a Kohen prestigious is you fulfilling your job to the best of your ability. Unwavering. What makes a teacher. See, that word even Moreh. That word Moreh, people say it means teacher, right? Listen, there are different aspects of that as well.
Break that down to
See? And I want you to know that these I'm giving you terms, especially the youth and maybe some people, that's not youth, so that you can put something substantial to these terms that you hear all the time. You just hear Kohen, you hear Moreh, you hear all of these things that maybe you really don't even know. Like I said, you heard the word Kohen, and automatically you think it means priest. It's interpreted as priest, but that he was a worker. What do you think, cutting up them offerings and offering those things was light work? Them guys had to be in shape.
Yeah. So I'm already rolled down.
Oh, no big old out of shape Kohanim. You had to be in shape.
Running, you have
I'm telling you, you holding a bull? You know what it is to slaughter a bull? Thing thousands of pounds. What does that tell you? You gotta be in shape. I eat to live, don't live to eat. Listen. Okay. So there are this one word here, right? Okay. Okay. That's Moreh, right? It's commonly translated as teacher. Now, there are two words that can mean this as well. Okay? The root word for one is right? And then you have this. Okay, so this first word it can be translated as to shoot or to push something forward, right? And this word here, marah, it means bitter. Okay? Now, when you said Moreh, using this word bitter, it could mean to cause somebody to be bitter or to be rebellious. Same letters. Now, why is that important? And this Moreh here, you use it here, from that word Yara, is somebody who is directing or guiding someone. Now, why would these phonetically, numerically, these words are the same? Why? Why would those two words be so similar? Because now, in this position, you can even guide someone towards righteousness, or you can cause them to be bitter.
Gee, I'm open.
You can use this position to be righteous, or you could use it to be rebellious. And I'm saying this because I see it all the time. I'm not throwing any darts, and I'm not going to go farther than that. But I don't call any names now. But what I'm saying is, when an individual feels that this position can be used for his own agenda, that's wicked. It is wicked. And that goes to being here, rebellious. We feel that it's not something, I mean, we have to understand that when you teach here, you are the person who can bring either chaos or order to the way that someone thinks, right? And someone's life, right? You are that link, correct? Well, now, you understand, I said you are the individual who can turn chaos for somebody, right? Into something that is understanding. You are that link to get into someone's head that will cause them to live a life that is righteous, right? Every breath that they take, correct? That's literally what this says. Mem is water, and it also could be translated as chaos, and we know why that is, correct? Wow is a hook, something that joins, right? Resh is rosh, head, and hay is the breath of life. This is not a dead language. Everything that we do has meaning. And I want you youth to understand and feel proud about your history. This is not some random information that somebody left and somebody found. There's substance. There's pride and strength. A lot of times the words that we use have duality. It's just like Pesach just passed, right? Okay. Pesach means what? The Passover, right? And I know y'all remember the time when I was up there and Kohen asked me, he said, what does Passover mean? I said, sacrifice. And he had another thing, but he was not wrong when he said Passover. But it also means to mutilate or to sacrifice. So you can go from being passed over to being mutilated. Come on now. This is not a coincidence. And I hope I'm not talking over people. Is everybody with me? Yeah. This is our pride. This is the way we live.
Same word. You're saying it was one faith for one nation and another faith for another, like you mentioned duality. The Egyptians weren't being passed over, they were being mutilated.
That's right.
We were being passed over.
That's why we have to understand that what the Most High does is perfect. This is the way and the life of this language is not something that a man could think of. Could not. Could not. Mom? Oh, you have a question? Where's his mic?
Shabbat Shalom. What is mutilated?
It means to rip to pieces.
Quick answer. Quick.
Simple response. I want to give him something that he can understand. Mutilate. Simple. Real simple. So the Most High God passed, like they said, passed over us, but there was havoc happening in Mitzrayim. These are the things that we have to understand. These are the things that we have to have pride in. We cannot continue to just take this thing lightly. This is a beautiful thing. This is something that we can use every single day. Learn a piece of it. A piece of it every day.
That's right.
It's deeper than just shalom. People, like I said, we spoke about the word shalom before. Shabbat shalom. Or Shabbat of completeness. Or a Shabbat that you are responding and paying it forward. I hope I'm being clear. I see, you know, I really hope I'm not talking over anyone's head. Is everything clear that I'm saying?
Amen.
Hallelujah. These were workers. These are men who are carrying out the duty to glorify the Most High. This position is not about a man. Our bond should be immovable, unbreakable. It was about love. And love is life. It is our life. And without it, we can't survive. Because, I mean, why do I say that? Because if you don't love your brother like yourself, you're not going to survive. You're going to continue to go through the things that you're going through. It should be life. Alright? Who said that? What was it? Aharon, right? Alright, there's significance with the head, right? Because you know, even in the name of our power, there are two. That's right. There are two. And I can explain that one as well, and I would do it in a real simple.
Right here, he touched that.
He said he put a motor to.
What was that?
That's good. The significance of the head and our language. This is breath. Considered breath. You know, as in the breath of life. Correct? All right. So, Yod, Yod, Yud is pronounced different ways, but either way it's turned. It means hand. Right? So, in the hand of our God, our power is the breath of life. Who joins, right? The breath of life. What's the significance behind that? Someone tell me before I explain it. What does that mean? The hand that joins the breath of life to the breath of life. I think I'm gonna call my brother Moreh Tavell. And my brother guy. Come on, brother. I want to hear from another Moreh. Come on, brother. Just explain breath of life. That's it. I don't want you to explain the whole thing. Just tell them what is that? Yes. What's the significance of joining the breath of life?
Significance of joining the breath of life?
That's it.
Yo.
That's right.
That's right. Shabbat shalom aleichem. Yo.
That's right.
That's it.
So, you know, from brother to brother, sister to sister, life to life, we cannot survive without each other. And Most High is always talking about love, this word right here. Right? So it's a significant thing, an occurrence that you have these two heads in this word, ahava, and in the name, the most powerful name and the most beautiful name that our ears have ever been privileged to hear.
Amen.
There is no more powerful and beautiful name ever assembled. None. So the fact that these both have head, you know, this right here is the house, the head of the house, right? Breath of life. The house, breath of life. They're significant because these are the things that will allow things to move in harmony. If you don't have harmony within your house, this head of the house is not going to have peace, and the house is not going to have peace. So what you do with your life, see that head? That's breath. That's the life. So what you do with your life has to be significant, and it has to be associated with your brothers and your sisters. Your mission. Everything that you do, let me tell you something. This is not secondary. This should not be the second thing. I'll get to that later on. I'll deal with that later on. To some people, that job will come before. I can't lose my job. I'm not telling you to lose your job. But if you put anything before this, you have a problem. We have an issue. That is one of the main reasons why we are here. It should be a life. It should be with every breath that you take. It is not secondary. This should not be put on a back burner. And our key and our mission is to continue to join our brothers and join our sisters. Love your brother as yourself. Love your sister as yourself. Respect your mother. All of these things. It's significant. And we have to begin to take these things into consideration. You are Hebrew first. You're not an electrician. You're not an electrical engineer first. The most important title you can ever have is brother, sister, mother, father, before anything. And if you don't understand that concept, you can get into any. Look at this fool that's running this country now.
Break down the letters 45.
What is that? 45?
Break that down.
Look, listen, this fool, look at this guy. He doesn't love anyone. He don't love himself. He's a fool running this country. Promoting what? Racism, hate, whatever you want to call it. But embedded in our culture was when a stranger come by and he want to live among you, you better make sure he's good. He can't do everything that you do, but you have to make sure that he's good. Gay with Toshav, stranger. And a person there is two different things. Toshav is a person that actually dwells among you. A ger is somebody who's passing through. So we have to understand that it is our duty that when people come, no matter who they are, see, this is where it gets sticky, because you have people who preach certain things that does not align with Torah. When people come, it is our duty and our mission to ensure that they are good, that they are safe, and that they are comfortable. As long as they are doing this here. That is our way. People say, well, we're strangers and we're oppressed every day. That has nothing to do with you executing Torah. This is a way of life. This should not be something that's boring to you. This should not be something that you get back to. Because you can put it down and you'll never be able to pick it back up. What if the Most High decide and just say, you know what? Nah, I'm not going to lie. I'm going to let you live. You know, cut off from among your people don't mean you're dead. But you may as well be dead. Because if you're cut off from among your people, that you're cut off from the protection, and you're cut off from being a representative of the true and living God. You good as dead. People think that you see riches and you see people with things, material things, and that means that they're, you know, you can have a whole bunch of stuff and still be cursed. So respecting our elders is something that is essential. This is not a suggestion, it's a requirement. I wanted to bring some of these words forth. And I hope that the things that I've shown you made a little bit of a difference. Shown you a little bit more depth to our language, to our culture, to our heritage. It is very important for us to get back to this. We need to be able to have our services completely in Hebrew.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be beautiful?
Okay.
Isn't that something that would be beautiful?
Wow.
We could do it. It's very doable. We have capable bodies here that can help, that can assist. Listen, I tell people all the time, 1 word a week. 1 word. Just find 1 word a week and add it to your vocabulary. By the end of the year, how many words do you have? 52 words. 52. Simple. Very simple. But you have to put this first. This has to be of the utmost importance. And I don't ever say this, and please, I hope I don't come across arrogant. Or I'm passionate. I am passionate about it, because like I said, when you came from speaking English and you came from hearing these other things, and now you come back to find something that's yours, you should be on fire. You should be on fire, ready to learn it. Some of us have excuses and some of us don't. But we have to stop making them. Learn it. Apply it. That is what's going to bring you closer to your power. Because when you read our book, our history in your language, there are many things that become clearer, that cannot be explained and cannot be translated into English. Cannot. That's right. Go ahead, Elder.
My teachers,
Shalom.
he speaks about our language all the time.
Amen.
We started to do 1 word.
1 word, see? 1 word a week.
And I don't know the whole alphabet. I'm one of them old timers that say I got too old to start language.
No. Nope.
But I do like the word to learn phonetics.
Right.
And so I don't mind learning a word.
That's right.
But he just said this last week in our Sidra. One of the words we read in our Sidra did not translate the same way in the Hebrew.
Right.
I can't remember which one, but it was a totally different meaning. And it gave a different meaning to the last week's Sidra. We were in 19 or you know, that's it. And he gave a different meaning to
That's
the
right.
whole thing.
That's
So
right.
I just said that this is what this brother's teaching. He's on the same plane and I agree.
Absolutely. And just like you said, we read about the Pesach, or we observed the Pesach, and a couple chapters before, it meant to pass over. And literally, in this said here, the same word was used, and it meant to mutilate. And this said here. So what I'm saying, like I said, is active. That's my son there crying. It's actively playing itself out before us. So it, like I said, everything becomes relevant. Everything is relevant. And youth. Did I say something that you can use today? Huh? Gang? Youth? No? Please, I hope I said something that you can use. Something that you can apply to your day. I want to give glory to the true and living power. I hope you enjoyed the lesson. And I did tell Star that I was going to be under an hour. See? I told you. Under an hour. Hallelujah! 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 Hallelujah!
Hallelujah!
Hallelujah. Let's give him another round of applause. Hallelujah. Thank you to the Most High for His Spirit. I'm going to ask you to stand, Bakasha. Let's sing a song. And then we'll call upon next and final speaker of the day. So we can conclude the Shabbat. Jerusalem, the land where our fathers served God. Let us sing about the city that is in Israel, the land of Israel. Page 2, now she go ahead, or a song book, rather. Let us sing it together. By the rivers of Babylon, yeah, we sat down and we cried. When we remember Jerusalem, we were sick, God, and we died. Jerusalem, Brothers and sisters, please let us welcome the Sar of the Ba'it, Sar Aharon, with every mention of our name. Hallelujah! Hallelujah!
Shabbat Shalom, family.
Shabbat Shalom.
Might need to go up and thanks and glory to creator of heaven and earth. thanking Him for my life and the lives of all of you, our families, our loved ones, near and far. I'm thankful for safe passage of all of those who have traveled down here this weekend.
Yeah.
And praying the Creator will be with them and give them pleasure in the fact that they arrived safely and whatever they came for, that they'll enjoy themselves. Thanking Him for our safe travel last week.
Yes.
So many of us went out of town.
There we go.
Can you hear me better
Now
now?
we can, yeah.
Okay. And we had a really beautiful weekend. I don't want to just keep talking about it, but it was
Do it.
phenomenal.
Great.
Phenomenal. A lot of people don't know, but I got rear-ended last weekend. I was on my way to the bowling tournament, and I was just about to turn left into the parking area. And this guy that was riding behind me decided to change his radio station or something. He drove up under my car. He had a Toyota Corolla, so he didn't have a chance. Fortunately, neither one of us got hurt. Of course, my neck and my back was injured.
My neck and my back.
My neck and my back. I shouldn't even be up here right now. But anyway, I didn't want to spoil anybody's night, so I didn't say anything until the next morning. So if you saw my new white car out there, it's just a temporary vehicle. But you know, it could have been a lot worse. No, he was just young and foolish. He got distracted, and if he were not driving that little car, I would have been in trouble. It would have been more than my neck and my back. He hit me at like 40 miles an hour. He didn't stop. I mean, until he hit me, because he wasn't looking. No, it was on a road, a 2-lane road. I need all the details. What was his name? Give me his address. And he was pretty upset, you know. And but I'm just saying that I was very, very grateful because his car was demolished. They had to take his car out on a flatbed. I mean, the whole front end was gone. It was smashed in. So I'm really thankful, and I got my car home. And that was a blessing. Just the thought of not having to be able to bring my car home from Maryland. Actually, I was in Pennsylvania because the place where we were was right on the border. So yeah, the bowling alley was in Pennsylvania. A lot of people don't even know. They changed the state. They went into another state when they went on that. It was about 5-10 minutes from where we stayed. But it was a beautiful trip. I don't want to dwell on that because I have so many other things I want to cover. I just want to give thanks to the Creator that He spared my life and that He allowed a young man to hit me. And He will pay. So, we're going to start with a question and answer period. I have an hour and 10 minutes. I have a lot of stuff I want to cover. We're going to make the question and answer period brief. Anyone can ask a question. Anyone can answer a question. We only ask in any event of a controversy that the final decision rests up here on the Mizbeach of Tefillah, not because I or these gentlemen next to me know more, but because we want to maintain order in the house of Yah. I see Gaveret Naima's hand, and we'll take her first.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Okay, in the portion this morning when it said she was a harlot that she should be burned.
Right.
What is the difference between that and a human sacrifice? I know the Hebrew words don't say meaning or something about a burnt sacrifice.
Right.
The wording is different, so what makes that difference? And why would she just be stoned? I don't want to say just stoned, but why would she be burned?
Okay, I'm gonna take you mind? Moreh?
Not at all.
Well, let me just say this, she's not. Anything? Is that it? Okay. Now let me try to get my thoughts back. First of all, she's not being dedicated to the Creator, so it's not a sacrifice. Okay? I think more than anything else, it's a scare tactic. It's to make sure that our daughters understand just how serious, harlotry is. I do believe that we definitely understand it's not a sacrifice because it's not dedicated to the Creator to glorify His name, or to even sacrifice that animal or that person for somebody else's life. It's her own life that she's losing. And I think the fact that they're using that particular means of killing her is more of a tactic because the stoning would do just fine. But it's a torture that I believe that the Creator put in place and we don't have any other references than that, except that it's the thought of that would make somebody think twice. And I think that that's part of it. I'm going to take Candy's hand in the back. And
Just clarification, you're dead already when they burn things disposing of you like that, or you're killed that way?
Well, what it says in the English, basically, and somebody want to translate it, says that she will be burned. She shall be burned with fire.
And then they burn her.
Yeah, they burn her to a stake or something. I mean, it doesn't sound very pleasant, but it would make me think twice about, choosing harlotry. Okay? Okay, that's a scare tactic. Is this a new question? Kepsibo's hand was up first. A new question? Okay, I'll take her first and then I'll take you, sister. Shabbat Shalom. And we're going to take one more after her if there's one, and then we're going to move on.
Yahya was teaching this morning. He was saying a vow, you cannot bring up an animal that's blemished, but the other offering you can. One of the other ones you can, and I don't know why.
Was it an offering?
Yeah, it was an offering.
Oh, okay.
Shabbat Shalom, one of them, I believe, if I'm correct, was the free will offering, where they were allowed to bring up an animal with a long and short limbs, it was. And the other one, for a vow, you could not do so. But that was the only stipulation that was mentioned, an animal with something too long or too short. But it never said the other things, which was having a disease or what have you. It just mentioned for a free will offering, you have to remember, it's something that you're giving on your own free will. You want to just make a donation or a contribution. But the Creator never said why, which is your question. He never said why. He just said, this is what He's given, or this is what He's allowing for this purpose or another. He never said why.
I think it's important to understand that it's not a sacrifice. Exactly. An offering and a sacrifice are not necessarily the same thing. So it's not going on the altar. Exactly. Okay? And you say, that's why I asked you what did it say? Because an offering just means you're offering something to Him, and He may have another use for it. Or He can even kill it and eat it. Right. But He's not putting it on the altar. Exactly. It's not a sacrifice. Okay? So that's what you need to understand, the distinction when you talk about something that's a blemish. Then you can still offer it. I'm going to give you this animal. You can eat it. There's nothing wrong with it. When you're eating it, you can't tell whether one leg was shorter than the other. So, it's just a matter of offering it before the Creator. Now, that's a different thing. That's a sacrifice. Okay? All right. So I'm going to take the sister's hand. Now, Todiah.
Shabbat Shalom.
In Leviticus 24, they were talking about the son of the Israelitish woman. I was just wondering if it's a young child, do they get stoned to death also, or does age matter?
I would think that age does matter, because you got to be old enough to know right from wrong. There's other punishments that they can use. They don't have to be stoned. When it comes to putting someone to death, there's a lot of different stipulations that come in place. One of them obviously is you need more, at least 2 witnesses to whatever happened. But also, it's important to understand that you can redeem your life. For any violation punishable by death, you can redeem your life as long as you didn't take another life. Okay? As long as you didn't commit murder, you can redeem your life by paying a fine or other things that you can do in order to not lose your life for that particular infraction. In the case of a child, I'm sure that there's a lot of other differences, a lot of other punishments, and I don't know what the age is. I'm sure the judges will make that decision. If they're old enough, like 14, 15, 16, yeah, they could die for that. I don't know about a 10-year-old or 5-year-old, you know what I'm saying? I don't know. They will probably come up with another punishment that would let them know that's not going to be acceptable behavior. But the judges will make that decision. Okay. Always keep in mind this law is fluid, and it does have in certain cases places where the judges would make decisions based on this is the essence of the law, but it's not cut and dry by any means, and changes can always be adapted. You know, and then again, you're dealing with like right now. We're in the land of captivity. If one of our children blasphemed the Creator, or one of our children committed harlotry, where you gonna burn her to the stake at and get away with it? You understand? There's a lot of other things that we have to. So we got to use common sense too, okay? And that's vital, and especially in this day and age. You have some people that think everything is literal in this book, and they're not supposed to be teaching or executing the law, okay? Because they don't understand it on that level. Did I see a hand over here? And I see the brothers next.
Shabbat Shalom Lekem. The only thing that I was going to just add to what Saul was saying was that even in that next verse, after that whole situation, he said that, and if a man maim his neighbor as he hath done, so shall it be to him. Breach for breach, eye for eye, tooth for tooth. As he hath maimed a man, so shall it be rendered unto him. And you got to really consider a case-by-case basis, you know. And a lot of times, a lot of people read that as literal. Oh, so, you know, the same thing is going to be done to you. The judges will have to determine what happened, how it happened, and, you know, and then determine that particular case. It'll be a case-by-case basis. So.
If somebody knocked my tooth out, God forbid, and I had the option of knocking his tooth out or collecting a bunch of money.
Right, a bunch of money.
You can keep your tooth. I'll take the new car.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? I'll take the new house. For your tooth. You know, so I mean, you know, those types of things are negotiable. They're very negotiable. Okay? Yeah. Don't tell me my tooth ain't worth the house. Now you going too far. Now I'm not even going to take your question. You tell me what my tooth is worth? What's your question, young man?
Get another boy and this how they act, boy.
I'm telling you. Smelling himself.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
My question is revolving around the wife of the Kohen. This is in chapter 21, verse 7. He said, they shall not take a woman that is a harlot or profane, neither shall they take a woman put away from her husband. I think we kind of understand who a harlot, what type of category that would fall under. My question is more about the profane woman.
Ill repute.
I think sometimes someone that may be promiscuous, but also can that fall under the guidelines of a woman that's known to be disrespectful, a woman that is known to be a talebearer and always talking about somebody.
A drunkard.
Because I'm thinking, because it's a representation of their household.
Exactly.
So she is misrepresenting the household, if you call it a bad name, on the Kohen who's supposed to represent the Creator. So do you feel like it falls under those lines when it comes to the profane ones?
Yeah, it's on the house, but on the office.
Right.
All of that is at stake when you have a woman. That's why they have to choose them very carefully. And that's the reason why they're not supposed to be so quick in taking a wife. They should take longer than the rest of us. Because they have to make sure that that woman not only is right for them as a companion that would be for any other man, but she also has to carry herself on a level because he's held to a higher standard, and that requires her to be held to a higher standard. And so she's an extension of him, and if she's not acting in that manner, that's why you got to wait long, because this is in any relationship. The problem with people in relationships is they take on the cookies too quick. Okay? They get involved in the physical before they have a chance to get into the spiritual and the emotional and all the other parts of a relationship that could be detrimental if they're not properly, vetted, for lack of a better word. You have to really, I recommend nobody, because people, in Hollywood, in 2-3 weeks they engaged and they're running off to Las Vegas. The worst thing you could do is marry somebody before you really get to know that person. And if you haven't had one good argument with them, you're definitely not ready to marry them. Because you need to know how they're going to respond to that type of a situation. So adversity is really a good thing in a relationship. And so in the beginning of relationships, because that's how you find out whether the person is adaptable or is compatible with your ruach and you're with theirs. So it's really, really important. Okay?
Great answer.
So let's move on. Hold on. I'll take Abba's question.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Okay, we were just speaking about eye for eye, tooth for tooth. Now, if someone does something to you and you forgive them, would Yah look down on you in favor because you forgave them?
Yeah, you could definitely do that if you want to win the favor of the Creator and you feel that that's how you want to handle it. But this is one thing that's very important. When people don't learn from their mistakes, I'm not going to forgive somebody if there's arrogance involved, or if it was intentional, or if this wasn't the first time. You got to take all of that into consideration. The judges don't have to be involved in every situation. The judges are involved when you call the judges and say, look, this is what happened to me. You report the offense. Okay? But one thing is, just like with a child, the worst thing you could do for a child is to overlook their wrongdoing. Because after a while they think that that's the consequence. There is no consequence. And that's teaching them the wrong message, because certainly when they go out and they do it to somebody else who's not so forgiving, they're not prepared for the consequences, and they don't even respect the authority that's coming before them. So sometimes you have to punish a child just so that they learn the lesson that was supposed to be learned in that situation. Any parent needs to know that, and they definitely have to understand that's the role that we play as parents, is to understand that we have to teach our children right from wrong, and we're not doing it if we're not, if we're rewarding bad behavior.
Right.
Okay?
Teach.
Who said somebody had any other? Okay, I see.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
I wanted to comment on the Bas Kohen situation, the daughter and the Isha of a Kohen, and the eye for an eye thing. The Torah, when it comes to our personal way of reacting to things, we read it in Kedoshim. You shall not hold a grudge, you shall not commit revenge. So we can't simply say eye for an eye somewhere else. That's dealing with crime, right? Someone's beating his wife, how do you deal with that? And then the judge can say, we beat you. That is what the judge has as a part of his arsenal. But personal things, like I have a disagreement with somebody, the Torah says you can't go try to plot revenge against that person. That's what judges are also for. Something for the issue about the women in the lives of a Kohen, I think is important. The sons we actually have, I'm thinking examples of a Kohen being punished. We do have plenty of examples of sons of Kohanim being punished. Hofni Pinchas, Nadav Avihu. So you can see that standard is actually even higher. They're killed alive, or they're killed and their whole lineage is cut off as Kohanim. So it just goes to show, obviously, their sister certainly has to hold herself up to a high standard. But simply because it didn't mention the son of a Kohen can't act a fool, the history proves that out. And one last thing is about a wife of a Kohen. Keep in mind also, we just saw today, people can bring offerings home, and the family is partaking of those offerings. And you could imagine if there's spiritual problems going on with the wife and the husband, that affects people's offerings that they're giving to the Creator, that they're eating. There's all sorts of other things going on there. The word that was said as profane is halala. It's the same word, it's the opposite of kodesh. So in other words, she shouldn't be a profane woman. So what's the opposite of being profane? She should conduct herself with holiness. If he has to diagnose nidah situations, I don't think he's going to be in there like a gynecologist. If you have a wife there who knows all the same laws, she can go in and do some of the counseling too. She should be at that standard and be able to handle things in holiness.
That's it. Tell her about it. Is that it? Okay. Okay. Oh,
I don't be brave here. My Ish was here, so there she goes. We've had this discussion. I don't know if it was opened up in last week's Sidra or the Sidra before. And my question was based on harlotry. Harlotry is seen bad in the terms of if an Israelite woman went in that direction, it's bad. But we also have been reading throughout the month that our Israelite men can go to an harlot in order not to profane or disrespect an Israelite woman. And my question is, in today's society, and a young man that is in his 20s, early 20s and whatnot, and starting his adulthood, usually have finished school, and is out in the world. And he's not married, and he's not able to get married. He's not able to sustain a household or whatever. What does he do with his sexual drive? Is he encouraged to go to a woman of another nation in order that one is the harlot, you know? I mean, we know we don't want our Israelite brothers seducing our Israelite sisters with just the sense of lust, okay? So, what do our elders teach the young men who are not able to get married, but are having a strong sexual drive? What happens?
well, I think it's a very good question, but because
we got teenage sons coming up.
I understand, but we're in mixed company, so I can't address that right now. I think it's an inappropriate time to address that issue, but I do have an answer, and we talk to our young brothers about that. So it's being addressed, but I don't think that's appropriate right now because of the company that we're in right now. But it's a very good question, and it's one that we try to talk to our daughters about, and we also try to talk to our young men about, but I can't get into it any further than that at this time. That would have been a good question if we had separation of classes, but I don't want to get into that because it can get pretty graphic. Okay? So I'm going to have to pass on that one, okay? Now I know what your Ish was talking about. Is there a general answer? Abstinence. Abstinence. And then if they're that hot, then they need to get a better job and get a better, income so that they can get married. Okay? Take a cold shower. Okay? All right. Moving right along. Moving right along. That's the best I can do right now. Okay? They come mow my grass. They need something to do. I'm going to go over some what's going on. Okay? Now this one. This one I got a couple. I haven't been up here in like over a month, so I got a lot of stuff. This one is from a survey that people did. I was surprised by some of the answers. House guest pet peeves. Okay? This is what people said bothers them when somebody comes over their house. Okay? Asking for the Wi-Fi password. I didn't know that was stupid. Some people have a problem with you asking for their Wi-Fi password.
Taking up bandwidth. Taking up that bandwidth space. Here he is. Yeah, you can't take up the bandwidth now.
Can I get past one? Second thing, this one that was a surprise to me. Not taking off their shoes. Came in the house. Yeah, now for Israelites, I think that's common. We expect people to take off their shoes, but this wasn't Israelites that were surveyed. This was the general population. Not using a coaster. Some people don't like you putting no wet glasses on their stuff, on their furniture. I keep coasters on all my tables, by the way, so come over my house, I will offer you something to drink. Please use the coasters free. And this is the last one. Now this one will get you, this one will get you. Forgetting to flush.
Ma? What do you say?
Okay, that's enough.
If it don't think that it's
Probably did. Okay. All right, let's get serious now.
I've heard.
We had a killing at UNCC recently. That was tough. We've been reading about this stuff, and now it's sitting close to home. The first thing I started doing was texting all the people I could think of that was associated with UNCC. Certain cases, there just is no escape. Your only salvation is the Creator. The mercies of the Most High is the only thing that can protect us from these types of events. Besides making bad choices and being in the wrong place at the wrong time and all of that stuff, you're at the mercies of the Creator for situations like this. And that's why it's good to have a good relationship with Him and call upon Him often. So that because some people you don't have a chance to say, a prayer when something like this happens. This is why we are so careful now. We have security is our #1 priority here now. We're more worried about keeping you safe than keeping you in the knowledge while you're on this property, because that's just how dangerous it is out there. And we pray for the Creator's protection, but we also have an obligation to do everything we can do to keep you safe, to keep us all safe. And so you're going to see a lot of guys out on security duty, and we're just praying that the Most High will pass over us when a fool decides he wants to kill somebody. And it's happening so often now that you can't think that it could not happen to you. There was a time when it happened so infrequently that, wow, and that was a big deal. Now, it happens so often, you forget that it just happened last week. Right after that killing, 2 days later, they killed somebody else in another school in Colorado. Which Colorado is catching it. They done had about 3 or 4 of these since Columbine. Just give thanks to the Creator for His mercy, and don't forget to thank Him for His compassion, because you just don't know. It's just that scary. And we have to really, really keep our wits about us when we're traveling and moving around and whatnot, because we just have no idea when the Creator is going to do something like this. I have a couple more things. I think, Moreh, you have something I sent you? I sent you something a while ago. I don't know if we ever used it.
No, you didn't.
Okay, which one do you have now? This is current event stuff that I've been saving.
The proposal. That's the one you didn't use?
Yeah, the prom proposal. You hear about this prom proposal? No. Put that one up on the screen, Moreh. This was a prom proposal a guy gave his girlfriend a while ago.
I saw that. Oh wow.
If I was black, I would be picking cotton. But I'm white, so I'm picking you for prom.
He did that. Well, you know what happened, right? He didn't make the prom. He got suspended, and he couldn't even go to the prom. He said, "Oh, I didn't realize that was a bad thing. I was just trying to say something funny. If I was black, I'd be picking cotton." And it wasn't until it got posted and he got, you know, in trouble for it that he said, "Oh, I apologize. I should have never said that." So he didn't even make the prom. So I don't know where the girl went. She probably went to the prom with a black guy. Okay. What's the other one, Moreh? Now this one, everybody knew this already. The officer, you remember Oscar Grant? That was Fruitvale Station. It's just coming out now that the guy instigated the whole thing, but that's in the movie. If you saw the movie, this information was already out there. But now they waited 10 years, and only because a law came out where they had to disclose all of this information, the police department had to disclose it, that they're now telling us that he instigated the whole thing, called the guy all kinds of names, and just, you know, took the situation from bad to worse, nowhere where it needed to be. And this is what's happening to our young men, and that's why it's so important. You could do something very simple that catches an officer in a bad mood, or he wants to take out his frustrations on you. You have to really be careful, number one, when you're out in public. Two, when you're driving a vehicle and you're alone or you have a bunch of friends in the car. Because I remember when they shot the car up, the kids that drove off and killed a young man. All of these, and half the time these police officers are getting off. Because all they have to say is, I was threatened, I felt threatened, I felt threatened. I felt threatened is all they have to say to get off. And there is no threat. I was watching something just yesterday of all the situations where police overreacted. Where they were beating up girls and throwing them down and handcuffing people just because they said something they didn't like. These guys are out of control. And the reason why I'm saying this is so our teenagers and even our young adult men who, you know, get mad because they don't like cops, they don't understand that it's not as simple as, oh, I'm going to tell my parents or you're going to get sued and all that. You better hope you get out of there with your life, because these guys are crazy. The sister that ended up hanging herself, well, I'm telling you what they're saying is suicide. They now are showing her video of what happened when the cop was fussing with her, saying, "I'm going to burn you up with this." He had a taser, and he said, "I'm going to fire you up," or something like that. That never came out, that she was videotaping him. You only saw him from his car vantage point, and he was talking to her back and forth, and she got out. Now they're showing where she was live streaming, or she was taping him with her phone, and what he was saying to her. And she said, "What? Are you serious?" And the guy was, listen, they were going in. The guy was going, and yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they hung up, but there's just no evidence of that. But they're still going to get sued because she should have never been in a jail cell in the first place. You know, so the parents, a matter of fact, the family got $2 million on that. They got $2 million on her death. But there should have been, but nobody got charged with anything. This is happening all the time. A life is worth a lot more money than $2 million. And I'm just impressing this upon all of these young people that are starting these driver's licenses, to be careful. When they pull you over, turn on your lights on the inside, get your stuff, get all your paperwork before they get to the car. Are y'all listening back there? Get all your paperwork together before they get to your car, so you don't have to reach for anything. Because anything you reach for could be the death of you. Get all of that information ready, turn on the lights, and put your hands on the steering wheel. Don't give them a reason to pull the trigger, because the bullet is already in the chamber.
Right.
Be careful, and don't have a smart mouth, because your smart mouth, his finger just might get a little jittery with a smart mouth. And you're not going to live to tell about it. I hope you're listening. Kane, what's your point?
I know you said get all your paperwork and everything together. Is it still wise to keep like your registration and everything in the glove compartment?
You can, and because by the time he turns off his lights and he turns on his, you have a good 30 to 40, 50 seconds, maybe a minute to get your paperwork together. Or you can leave that stuff in the, somewhere on the side of your seat or whatever. You're not going out there to do an infraction. The first thing is don't speed. Don't roll past a stop sign. Don't do obvious things. Make sure your lights are on. Make sure that your tail lights work, your brake lights work. Don't give them a reason to stop you.
Right.
That's the first thing.
Make sure your papers are in order.
And then make sure you don't need, your registration is up to date.
Right.
Don't be driving around with a permit or a suspended license.
Right.
All of these things are setting you up for danger.
Right.
And then, you wonder how you got in a box. It's because all of these things are steps towards your demise if you're not careful. You can avoid all of that by doing the right thing. And anything less than that puts you in jeopardy. And it may not be that you did such a terrible thing, but you don't know what kind of fool is going to pull you over. While we're on the subject, road rage is no joke. You got people, you think that somebody, do you some harm. And look, they're passing, just a couple of weeks ago, this guy in this white truck thought the lady or the people did something or whatever, cut them off. He followed them home and shot the daughter in the driveway. And they had a camera on that caught him. This is the type of stuff that's going on in the world today, and you can't be too careful. You just can't. I'll take your hand in the back, and that's going to be it. Albert's going to be the last one, and then I want to get into a portion.
Sorry, I just wanted to if it's safe, do you think it's safe to record, to get your phone out and record, or will that tick them off? Or is this a state that is legal to do that?
I don't think that it's illegal to use your phone, but obviously they don't want you to do that, and they're gonna get uptight and they'll tell you to turn it off and do whatever. They don't have a right to do that. But if you can get something on tape, what I would do, I wouldn't record them, what I would do is call somebody. Now you have a witness, and you can even, if you have an iPhone, you can even FaceTime them and just say, I'm just on the phone with my mother, I'm a little nervous. And then give them what he wants. Leave your phone on the dash or whatever. They may not be able to see things, but they can hear things. And now that's somewhat of your protection, and it might keep him or her from doing anything, illegal. But you really have to be careful. And it depends on the officer. If you're more focused on taping them and not on listening to the instructions, then you're gonna antagonize them, and that could cause you harm. You got to see where you are under the circumstances. There's no one answer to that question. You got to base it on what you're dealing with. Cohen, and I'm trying to end this out. Go ahead. No, I'm gonna take you.
Shabbat shalom. Okay. The other thing is, the other thing to remember also, I work at the jail north, so I'm always in constant communication with the sheriffs and the Mecklenburg County Sheriff's Office. The important thing to do also is to listen to the command of the officer.
Right.
And the other thing not to do is when they ask you, let's say they say, can you roll down your window? Well, why do I have to roll down? See, now you already now in a little, confrontation. So you have to be careful. Just listen to the command. Turn down your radios. Can you turn down your radio, please, sir? No problem, officer. You have to be able to listen to the commands. Don't think that at that moment you have to, well, my radio ain't, because like I said, that's when they start to get pissed off. If you ever watched, if you haven't watched The Hate You Give, check it out, because that's what happened in that movie as well.
I just want to add, and I don't take away anything that he said, but sometimes they give you a command, and then when you do it, they shoot you.
Yeah, that's true.
They tell you to get out the car, and then when you get out the car, or they say the guy that the wife was taping him in the car, he told him to get his license out. And when he went to get it, and he told him he had a gun. He said, I have a legal weapon. And still, when he went to reach for his license, He shot him because he thought he was pulling out a gun. I don't understand. Well, whatever. And you know he got away with that. So I agree with you, but again, it's a case-by-case basis. You don't know what kind of fool is going to pull you over, what kind of day he's having, if his wife is mad at him. I don't know. It doesn't take much to set these people off. And you have to be careful. Don't put yourself in a situation that's going to end up like that. So you can do things to avoid it. And certainly that's what we're trying to promote here, that you don't do anything that's going to put you in a situation where you're going to have a contact with a police officer. That might be a nut job. Okay, Alec, did you want to make your point? And then I'm going to call it a day.
Shabbat shalom. What the police do and what they say is, I fear for my life. All you can do is sneeze.
Exactly.
I fear for my life.
That's all they have to say.
And you know what? Just recently, you always see these white cops, they shooting and getting away with it. But just recently, I forgot what state it was, but this black cop, he had shot this lady. His partner was sitting in the driver's seat, and the white lady was banging on the window. And so the black cop from his side, he shot and then he killed him. But you know he's getting time. Yeah, he's going to jail. But a white cop do it, shoot you 52 times or whatever, and they get him off. And they get him off. So that shows you how corrupt and how one-sided this is.
It is. And I'm going to tell you something. When they put on the uniform, they're all blue. They stick up for each other. The black cops don't rat out the white cops. They all, it's the blue wall they call it. Yes. They all stick up for each other because they can't go back to the station house and say that they told on their brother. They're all brothers when it comes to that blue uniform. So I don't trust any of them. Black, white, green, purple, I don't care. I don't trust them. And it's unfortunate to say that because we want our children to understand that they have in certain cases, they have to trust them. We have to trust them. But, you know, in certain circumstances, we're just fodder. Make it quick, please, because I'm supposed to be ending this session.
Shabbat shalom. They also right now making a lot of cameras you can buy for your car. That's easy to use.
Yeah, now that's a good idea. Yeah, they're pretty cheap. You can have, so you can roll your own camera. A lot of people you see that they're showing the accidents that happen out there. There's people that have their dash cameras on all the time. And that comes in handy because you might even be able to help with a crime. You never know. That's a good point, Tora. All right, we're going to switch gears. I have a half an hour. I want to go into some James Allen. Sorry I didn't tell you. But I thought about this earlier and I was like, you know what? Actually, I was trying to figure out what to do and I was going to do some history. And somebody said, yeah, I've done James Allen a long time. So we're going to do some James Allen and we're going into the book Above Life's Turmoil. If you have a smartphone, we're going to James Allen Free Library. And I think y'all are going to like this one. Tavel? Moreh Tavel? Can we get Moreh Tavel in here? We're going into Above Life's Turmoil, James Allen, and we're going to be talking about the uses of temptation. The uses of temptation, because I think a lot of people have been suffering with temptation. Moreh, can you get that out for me? That's James Allen, Above Life's Turmoil. And we're dealing with chapter 4, the uses of temptation. We don't have papers, we're going to put it up on the screen. And hopefully you have a phone, you can follow along if you want to do it that way. Here it is. I don't know about the book. I haven't seen it. Hopefully it reads the same way as mine, but sometimes it's different. Is everybody all right? Yeah. We want to talk about this thing called temptation now. And some people got it bad. You ready? And it's not as simple as you think. Okay? I thought of this, especially, I said, you know what, I think I picked the right topic when the sister asked a question about the children and the young men. The burning young men. Okay? So now, we're in the uses of temptation. Pay attention to all of you young people and you older people. Let's get it on. Let's get started.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
The uses of temptation. The soul, in its journey towards perfection, passes through 3 distinct stages. The first is the animal stage, in which the man is content to live in the gratification of his senses, unawakened to the knowledge of sin or of his divine inheritance, and altogether unconscious of the spiritual possibility within himself.
Okay, so he's saying that when the soul is going through a journey, it's called life, and it's supposed to be towards perfection. So the older you get, you're supposed to perfect this thing called life and behavior and thought and all of that. Okay, so there's 3 distinct stages, he says. The first stage is the animal stage. And you know what animals do?
That's right.
Whatever they feel like doing. They work off of instinct. So if they feel cold, they'll find shelter. If they feel like, you ever seen dogs and their instinct tells them, you know, it's mating season? They're not looking around to see who's watching. Okay? So there's a stage that man goes through, and he's doing the same thing, especially when they're younger. All they want to do is children. It's about self-gratification. This is children. But they want something, you know, babies cry and they expect you to take care of that need immediately. They can't tell you what it is, but they're not going to cry until it gets satisfied. Okay? And then as you get older, you start wanting to, now you know what satisfies you for whatever urges you might have, and your goal is to quench that thirst. Okay, so that's the first stage. You don't have any sense of responsibility. You don't have any sense of right and wrong. All your focus is on is getting gratifying relief for whatever it is you want. So if you want candy, you pick it up, you steal it, you do whatever you got to do to get it, and that's what you are in the first stage, called the animal stage.
The second is the dual stage, in which the mind is continually oscillating between its animal and divine tendencies, having become awakened to the consciousness of both.
Okay, so now as you get older, as you go into, let's say, your teen years, hopefully by then, you start realizing the difference between good and bad, good and evil. You realize that I know right from wrong, so there's a moral aspect to your existence, into your personality, where you know right from wrong and you always want to do the right thing, but at the same time sometimes you want to do the wrong thing because that's what gives you pleasure. You just want to do that, so you're going back and forth. Oscillating is when you're going from, you know, oscillating fan. That's what happens in the dual stage. A lot of people never leave the dual stage because they go throughout life doing what they want to do when they feel like it, and then they come to the temple and, you know, they're holier than thou. You know, and then when that's over, then they go back out into the world and they hang out with their friends and they satisfy all their little, whatever you want to call it. And then you come back and, you know, and then you want to, you know, put on your long garments and your zitziyot and, you know, you want to live in this world. And that's how he's saying that's where a lot of people stay. That's where our topic is going to kick in.
It is during this stage that temptation plays part in the progress of the soul.
Okay, so in this stage is when you're going to be going back and forth, and that back and forth is temptation.
That's right.
That's what it is. It's the urges that are coming upon you that you have to learn how to harness in order that you can move into the final stage. So you're going to stay in this stage a while until you learn what? Self-control. Time sheet.
It is a stage of continual fighting or falling and rising, of sinning and repenting, for the man still loving and reluctant to leave the gratifications of which he has so long lived, yet also aspires to the purity and excellence of the spiritual state, and he is continually mortified by an undecided choice.
You stay in a sense of flux because you want to do the right thing, but you don't have the willpower to always do it. So every time temptation creeps up in the matter, people say, well, I was tempted up. Listen, it's all in your mind. And that's what they're going to tell you. It's all in your mind because the same, you say, well, I was tempted in that, you know, like they said, the devil made me do it. No, because everybody's not tempted by the same thing.
That's right.
So you know that it's not a phase that you have to succumb to. Okay? It's your weaknesses that are going to be tempted because you don't have any willpower against them. Or you really want to indulge in the weakness. And so you find yourself going back and forth, fighting back and forth, because you haven't made the decision, it's a bad thing, it's a weakness, but I'm going to be strong enough to know that that's not for me. And I'm not going to do that. Okay? Make it brief. I got to get through this portion.
No, sorry about just a quick question. Because nobody's perfect. You know, we all make mistakes. Is a key to maybe trying to come over some of this temptation and these urges that you may have is to constantly tell yourself that, you know, if this thing is not bad, or this thing is not right, I should say. Because sometimes if you're in it and you don't feel like there's nothing wrong with what you're doing, then you're going to repeat that same behavior. So it's important to kind of remind yourself, even though you may fall short sometimes, that this thing I really have to get away from in order to try to overcome that barrier.
That's a simple explanation. That's a simple question in the sense that that's only one aspect of temptation. A lot of times we know it's bad. We know it's wrong. We know it's wrong before we head down that road or that block where that thing is that we know we're not supposed to have. No, we know when we leave our house that we happen to be driving on a cruise, a little, you know, what do you call it, a little joyride. We heading in the direction of the thing we're not supposed to have. So we know exactly what we're doing. The problem is, again, it's willpower. It's being able to know that thing is not for me, I'm not supposed to do that, and I'm not going down that road. So, you know, it's about choice and it's about the power of the mind, whether you're going to allow that to interfere with you. But I got to keep it moving because all of that's going to be explained.
Urged on by the divine life within him, this stage becomes at last one of deep anguish and suffering. And then the soul is ushered into the third stage, that of knowledge, in which the man rises above both sin and temptation and enters into peace.
Most people never get there because they cannot get the control that they need over their urges, over their bad choices, over their bad decisions, and over their weaknesses. And so they find themselves going throughout life in this phase. And even when you know the Creator, even when you know the Lord, even when you know all of these things, temptation is such a strong thing that it's the knowledge, knowing that temptation is not in control of you, but you are in control of the temptation because it comes from your thoughts. The temptations is not an outside entity that's coming at you. The thing that you're going after you is not pulling you towards it. It's your weaknesses that's pulling you towards it. Okay? Towards that thing. And until we understand that, because a lot of people really believe that that thing is the problem. That thing is not the problem. The problem is you. You have not accepted the fact that that behavior, that thought, or that device, or whatever it is not in control of you. It's your mind that's supposed to be in control of not only you, but the thing that you're after. And until we really understand that, you never get into this. That's the stage of knowledge, because now you understand that you're in control. You are that. Your mind is the most powerful thing that you're ever going to come up against. And until you learn how to control it, all of these things, bad habits, bad attitude, language, what can I say? Any type of vice, when you start talking about envy, jealousy, all of these things are a part of the temptation that's drawing you in your mind towards doing the wrong thing. And you have to learn how to control your mind and say, when you feel that urge coming on, you got to know how to harness it and say, I'm going to move away from that. I already see where this is taking me. Whatever it is. And everybody knows what their vices are, what their weaknesses are.
Temptation, like contentment in sin, is not a lasting condition, as the majority of people suppose. It is a passing phase, an experience through which the soul must pass. But as to whether a man will pass through that condition in this present life and realize holiness and heavenly rest here and now will depend entirely upon the strength
of his intellectual and spiritual exertions, and upon the intensity and ardor with which he searches for truth.
So the more effort you put into striving for holiness and doing the right thing, the easier it is to get over any kind of temptation. It's all about willpower and making certain decisions that you're not going to do that thing. You're not going to go after that person that you know is not right for you. And you're not going to just be so freely with, okay, that felt good, I'm going to go do that again, and you know it's the wrong thing. Right. Or you know, saying the wrong thing, you know it's the wrong thing. Right. Being able to, then some people do the wrong thing and say, she made me do that, or he made me do that. They didn't make you do that. Right. Your mind made you do that because you decided that you weren't going to find another way to avert that sin. And nothing else is going to substitute for it but willpower.
Temptation
okay. With all its
attendant torments can, okay, let me start over. Temptation with all its attendant torments can be overcome here and now, but it can only be overcome by knowledge. It is a condition of darkness or of semi-darkness. The fully enlightened soul is proof against all temptation. When a man fully understands the source, nature, and meaning of temptation, in that hour he will conquer it and will rest from his long travail. But while he remains in ignorance, attention to religious observances and much praying and reading of scripture will fail to bring him peace.
In other words, some people think, you know, you getting on my, I'm tempted to do something, so I'm gonna pray. You know, you know what? I'm going to the temple because you done got me upset. You know what I'm saying? That's not the solution. You know, or you want to get some religion because you want to. No, that's not going to help you. That is not going to help you. You're going about it the wrong way, and that's why I like doing this portion every couple of years, because I think we forget. We fall into that rut of thinking life is all about our gratification. When we don't get what we want, we start acting out. If we don't, you know, things don't go our way, we start coming up with these other means to try to persuade people to do different things. Those things do not work. It's all about your mind. You have to make the decision that if something's not right for you, you got to accept the fact that it's just not right for you, and you should just stay away from it. Right. Whatever it is, whether it's a person, place, or thing.
Easier said than done.
It's easier said than done, but it's better to do it than to suffer the consequences of not doing it. The Creator put these things in our midst to test us. He knows what your vices are, and He's only going to put the things. He's not going to put something in your midst to tempt you that you have no temptation over. Right. What's your test? Right. Your test is the things that where you're weak. That's right. And that's how if you remember the first line in this, it's all about trying to lead your spirit towards perfection. Yep. You want to get as close to perfection as you can, knowing that you're never going to be perfect. But would you rather be on this side of perfection, or do you want to be all the way over here? You have to make the decision that you're going to fix everything in your life, everything in your spirit, everything in your everyday being to be as close to perfect, because you're looking for the blessings of the Creator. Yes. You're looking for, and keep in mind, when you start throwing the laws, and I don't mean to make them sound trivial, of the Creator in there in terms of how He expects us to live, then you know He's looking for perfection. Right.
I understand.
You know it because everything they talked about today was about perfect. It was about perfection. Everything that He teaches us, He never says mediocrity is fine with me. Right. In your behavior, in your lifestyle, in whatever it is. The Creator never said mediocrity is good enough. Right. A mediocre animal is good enough. You know, do part of the Shabbat is good enough. Eat some kosher, and you know, you can throw a little pork in there every now and then, is good enough.
Think about it. You be nice half of the time, and the other half of the time, you're fussing and fighting. That good enough? What's tempting us to do the wrong thing? Whatever weaknesses we have in our spirits, in our attitudes, in our life, we need to try to fix. You spend your whole life doing this, and then at a certain point, as I'm getting up there in age, and I'm sure that other elders in this room understand what I'm saying, you say, you know what, I done learned so many lessons from all of these things, and I can teach other people how to do the right thing now. Because I know where that type of behavior is going to lead. That's why they call us elders and judges. Because we've been through it already, and we're telling you how to get there before you get to our age. Because you don't have to wait to be an elder to have wisdom.
Right. That's right.
You can have all the knowledge you want, but if you're not putting it into the right practice, that's not wisdom. That's just information. How are you using that information?
That's right.
People don't want to hear it because they're too busy dealing with temptation. They're fighting it because temptation is really overruling knowledge.
Exactly.
The practice of knowledge is wisdom. So you can have the knowledge, but if you're not practicing the knowledge, just like the Torah, you can know the Torah, but if you're not living the Torah, what good is it doing you? It's just something in a book that you memorize.
That's right. Knowledge is knowing, and wisdom is how you use it.
Exactly.
Okay.
Application.
Yes.
We got to think seriously about where we want to end up. What type of life do we want? A life of peace? Because you know what? There's nothing worse than an old fool. And you have people out there who have lived long enough to learn lessons, and they're still making stupid mistakes. I don't use that word loosely. I very rarely use it. But if you get to that age and you're doing still dumb things that other people are now emulating, we have some people in Israel that are teaching people who are fools. But they got great titles. You can't call them a fool, but you don't have to sit under them. I have a very strict rule. I don't care what title you give yourself. I'm not sitting under a fool. I'm not following a fool. I don't care what they call themselves, Melech. They could call themselves Prince. They could call themselves Tsar. They call whatever they want. But if I'm not going to follow you if you're a fool, because anybody can take on a title. It's starting to sound personal, so I'm going to move on. I said it's starting to sound personal. I didn't say it was. Okay. If a man goes out
to conquer an enemy, knowing nothing of his enemy's strength, tactics, or place of ambush, he will not only ignominiously fail, but that too, but will speedily fall into the hands of the enemy. That's right. He who would overcome his enemy, the tempter, must discover his stronghold and place of concealment, and must also find out the unguarded gates of his own fortress, where his enemy effects so easy an entrance. This necessitates continual meditation, ceaseless watchfulness, and constant and rigid introspection, which lays bare before the spiritual eyes of the tempted one the vain and selfish motives of his soul. This is the holy warfare of the saints. It is the fight upon which every soul enters when it awakens out of its long sleep of animal indulgence.
He's saying that you have to understand your own body, your own spirit, your own weaknesses for what they are. You got to find out where, because everybody's not weak at the same thing. You have to know what that is, and that's your enemy. The temptation thing is your enemy. So you got to know how the enemy gets to you. And you got to fortify yourself so you're prepared for it. So if your thing is, you know, you're a guy, you like fast women, you got to know to stay away from the fast women. Because you know that's something that you kind of enjoy. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Yeah. I'm going to leave it right there. But whatever it is, it's your introspection that's going to constantly remind you that I know I got a problem with that. Whatever the vice is, I know I got a problem with that. And now that you're constantly reminding yourself, you're preparing yourself for the temptation that's going to come. Because that's the only way you're going to overcome it. And one day, we all get old enough and we say, you know what, that used to get me in trouble, but I done learned my lesson now. That's right. Live and learn. Do we not know that as we get older? Yeah. Picking the wrong guy. Picking the wrong girl. You know, after a while, you know, oh, I remember that behavior. See you when I see you. Head in the other direction, because you already know that might be what you like, but that's not good for you. What you need. Let's keep it moving.
Two searching truths.
Men fail
to conquer, and the fight is. Men fail to conquer, and the fight is indefinitely prolonged because they labor almost universally under two delusions.
First,
that all temptations come from without.
That the temptation is out there and it's coming to you.
It's not an external thing.
And second, that they are tempted because of their goodness.
Okay, so there's two reasons why we don't overcome and you delay your progress in dealing with temptation. The first thing is you think the temptation is an external force coming at you. The beautiful woman, okay, the nice looking guy. No, that ain't the temptation. The temptation is not external. The problem is that's what you're looking for. So you find it, okay? It's coming from your spirit. So that's the first mistake we make, is we think the temptation is coming from outside the street, okay? The second thing is that we believe that we're only being tempted because we're such holy people. You know what I'm saying? Oh, I'm just a good person, and that's why this thing is coming out there at me, because it wants to try to lure me into sin and ill repute. You convinced yourself that you are a victim. Exactly. A victim of circumstance. Not. Okay? All right, so move on.
While a man is held in bondage by these two illusions.
Delusions.
Sorry.
Delusion. It's not an illusion, it's a delusion. He will make no progress.
He will make no progress when he has shaken them off. He will pass on rapidly from victory to victory and will taste of spiritual joy and rest.
Because you are now in control. That's right. It's about control. It's about control over your vices and your temptations. That's right. They can't tempt you anymore because you figured it out that this is a trick. Yep. That my mind is playing on me. Because ain't nobody playing the trick on you. It ain't coming from outside. You're playing tricks on your own mind that this is like, oh, this is only seeing what I'm going to do. Well, I'll fix you. I'm going to do it. I'll teach you to come and tempt me again. We got it all twisted.
That's right.
You ready? Go ahead.
Two searching truths must take the place of these two delusions. And those truths are, first, that all temptations come from within. And second, that a man is tempted because of the evil that is within him.
Exactly.
Right. The idea that Yah, a devil, evil spirits, or outward objects are the source of temptation must be dispelled. The source and cause of all temptation is in the inward desire. That being purified or eliminated, outward objects and extraneous powers are utterly powerless to move the soul to sin or to temptation.
They have no control, they have no power over you once you understand that you have power over them.
The outward object is merely the occasion of the temptation.
Right. Never the cause.
Right.
So they're saying the outside object is just an opportunity for you to exercise your weakness. The outside object is just giving you a reason to do whatever it is you know you're not supposed to do. But it's not causing you to be attracted to it. It's your mind that's already been attracted to it before it showed up. You were just waiting for the opportunity for it to happen. Right. That's why you ended up on the block with the red light.
Talk about it. The red light district.
You ready? You don't need that. We're trying to be.
The outward object is merely the occasion of the temptation, never the cause. This is in the desire of one tempted.
Your desire is already there.
Right.
And now you have an opportunity to express it. The problem is not in the expression, it's in the desire that existed in the first place.
That's right.
If the cause existed in the object, all men would be tempted alike.
Exactly. So,
yep, wow.
Right, exactly. If the cause was in the object, then everybody would love that clock up there because I love it.
Right.
All right?
Right.
No, that's not the case. We all have different types that we like of clocks. Okay? So the clock that I like may not be the clock that you like.
That's right.
You want a digital clock. You might like a clock that doesn't have a second hand on it. You only want two hands on your clock. Some people like big numbers, some people like the little numbers.
Break it down, powerful.
So that's what I'm talking about. So it's not in the clock. Everybody don't like the same clock.
That's right.
So you know that the clock is not the source of the temptation. The clock is not the source of the temptation because all of us are not attracted to the same clock. Time sheet.
If the cause existed in the object, all men would be tempted alike. Temptation could never be overcome, and men would be hopelessly doomed to endless torment, but seated as it is in his own desires.
So he's saying that if we in other words, right now, if it was in the clock that had the power over us, we'd all be back. Y'all wouldn't be looking at me. Y'all all be looking back there at the clock. That's not the case. Some of y'all care what time it is, and some of y'all don't. Time sheet.
As it is, no, I read that part. He has the remedy in his own hands.
You have the remedy.
And can become victorious over all temptation by purifying those desires.
You all you have to do is purify your thoughts. Purify your thoughts, and that purifying your thoughts eliminates all the temptations. Some of us, we purify our thoughts and we just keep one. One temptation.
Right.
That one, I'm keeping that one. Because guess what?
That'll want to get you.
I got rid of all the other ones. I think I should get blessed for that. But that one is the one that the Creator is waiting for you to eliminate.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
That's the one. Let's move on.
A man is tempted because there are within him certain desires or states of mind, which he has come to regard as unholy.
Right.
These desires may lie asleep for a long time, and the man may think that he has got rid of them. When suddenly, bam, on the presentation of an outward object, the sleeping desire wakes up, and thirst of immediate gratification And this is the state of temptation.
Yeah, now you're in the state of temptation. It's been dormant a long time. You stayed off that block for a long time. But one day, somebody got on your nerves, and you know, all of a sudden, you only knew one direction to that block. And boom, that's it. You just, all of that, now you gotta start all over again. Right. And if you survive, if you survive, you gotta start all over again. Because there's no guarantee that that one last little thing is gonna be survivable. That might be the day that the place gets raided, or that some wild maniac comes through with an AK-40. You understand what I'm saying? The Creator sent you there for your doom, which if you had controlled your urges, you wouldn't have been there when that happened. There is no such thing as a coincidence. The good in a man.
That's what I read there. Okay. The good in a man is never tempted. Goodness destroys temptation.
Why would you? Who tempts the goodness in you?
Right.
Oh, you never say I'm tempted to give an offering to you. I'm tempted to pray. Right. You don't get tempted to do what you're supposed to do. I'm tempted to be nice to my wife. That doesn't happen. That's right. That's not a temptation. Time sheet.
It is the evil in a man that is aroused and tempted.
Exactly. To do the wrong thing.
Right. That's right.
And when they say man, they're talking about woman too.
The measure of a man's temptations is the exact register of his unholiness. Wow. Of his own unholiness. As a man purifies his heart, temptation ceases. For when a certain unlawful desire has been taken out of the heart, the object which formerly appealed to it can no longer do so, but becomes dead and powerless. But there is nothing left in the heart that can respond to it.
Exactly. If you don't have that temptation anymore, all that thing could dangle in front of you forever, you're just going to walk right by it. Right. You might not even notice it.
That's right. I ain't looking at your passion.
The honest man cannot be tempted to steal. Let the occasion be ever so opportune. The man of purified appetites cannot be tempted to gluttony and drunkenness. Though the vines and wines be the most luscious, he of an enlightened understanding, whose mind is calm in the strength of inward virtue, can never be tempted to anger, irritability, or revenge. And the wiles and charms of the wanton fall upon the purified heart as empty, meaningless shadows.
If we walk around with pure thoughts, pure words, pure deeds, nothing can harm you. All of these things are not going to come upon you. Oh, if you're a good person, then evil is not going to be a thought in your mind. Doing something evil is not going to be a thought in your mind. You know? So that's the thing. Don't ever think that you cannot overcome these weaknesses. The thought that you cannot overcome them, you're defeated already. You've already submitted yourself to harm and danger. You got to put it in your mind that not only can I overcome this, but I will overcome this. I will overcome this. And then when the tests come, the test is there to see if you're going to be honest to yourself about what you just said you're going to do. Make better decisions. It's just that simple. Self-control. Self-control. Learn how to control your mouth. Learn how to control your thoughts. Learn how to control your behavior. And don't say, oh, I did it this time, but I was almost gonna do the right thing. I almost did it, but I just let myself go. That's no self-control. Zero. You got to figure out how you can overcome your weaknesses, because if you're doing the same thing over and over and getting the same result, what is that? You're a fool because you haven't changed anything. You're just hoping that, I don't know what, I can't imagine. Actually, I can't imagine what you think the result is going to be if you're continuing the same behavior that you know does not work.
Temptation shows a man just where he is, sinful and ignorant, and is a means of urging him on to higher altitudes of knowledge and purity. Without temptation, the soul cannot grow and be strong. There could be no wisdom, nor real virtue. And though there would be lethargy, and death, there could be no peace and no fullness of life.
He's saying that you need temptation. You need temptation in order to better yourself. You need it because that's what fortifies the spirit. Without the temptation, you don't even know that you're weak. So temptation is therefore, but that's why they call this the uses of temptation. Temptation has a value. Temptation has a usefulness. It teaches you how to be a better person because you're being tested and then you're overcoming.
When temptation is understood and conquered, perfection is assured. And such perfection may become any man's who is willing to cast every selfish and impure desire by which he is possessed into the sacrificial fire of knowledge.
Now, I'm going to repeat a couple of words he said. Perfection is assured, and such perfection may become any man who is willing to cast every selfish, because that's what drives you in your temptation. You're just thinking about yourself. And that's why you can't get off of you're not interested in what anybody else feels. You're not interested in what anybody else thinks. You're not interested in what anybody else does. All you're interested in is your own selfish gratification. And when you have that, an impure desire that you are possessed with, you have to burn that in the sacrificial fire of knowledge. So the knowledge of yourself and what's right is going to overcome that. Tom Sheet. Let man therefore search diligently
for truth, realizing that while they are subject to temptation, they have not comprehended truth and have much to learn. Ye who are tempted know then that ye are tempted of yourselves. For every man is tempted when he is drawn away of his own lust, says the Apostle James. You are
skip that.
You are tempted. Keep calm, Israel. You are tempted because you are clinging to the animal within you and are unwilling to let go, because you are living in the false mortal self, which is ever devoid of all true knowledge, knowing nothing, seeking nothing, but its own immediate gratification, ignorant of every truth and of every divine principle.
Okay, I want you to skip that poem, go down to the last paragraph. In that false self lies.
In that false self lies the germ of every suffering, the blight of every hope, the substance of every grief. When you are ready to give it up, when you are willing to have laid bare before you all its selfishness, impurity, and ignorance, and to confess its darkness to the uttermost, then will you enter upon the life of self-knowledge and self-mastery. You will become conscious of the power within you and of that divine nature which, seeking no gratification, abides in a region of perpetual joy and peace, where suffering cannot come and where temptation cannot find no foothold. Establishing yourself day by day.
Day by day. Every day it's a struggle, but every day it gets easier. You have to, see, this is the thing. And I'm going to end out because the sun is down and I don't want to overextend my time up here. But every day you have to wake up with a purpose. Every day you have to wake up with a purpose. And sometimes the purpose is self-improvement. In other words, there's so many other things going on that we're more focused on the dollar, the conquest, the accomplishments, and we're not focused on our purpose to get rid of our issues, to deal with our problems, our personal problems. We push all of that on the back burner because we have all of these other things that we've given a priority to. That you don't realize, we don't realize that those things are really not getting better. You're not giving them the best you can give. As much as you think you want those things, you've allowed your self-growth to hold back your accomplishments on all the other stuff. Because if you're, letting your vices get ahead of you, then how much of a parent can you really be? Wow. How much of a husband or wife can you really be? How much of a great employee can you really be when you have all of these other things that are really detriment to your spirit and your soul and your personality and your character that's really hanging over you like a dark cloud? Most people don't see it because you putting on a facade. And we all, to a certain extent, have to put that on because we don't want everybody to know everything we're going through. But we can't avoid it. We have to stop acting like it's not there. We have to address them. We have to address our issues so that we can be the better father, the better husband, the better employee, the better friend, the better teacher. Whatever our role is, we have to improve, self-improvement. You know what they say? What is it? It's the first rule of self-preservation. It's the first law of nature. So I have to consider myself first before I can start getting out there trying to help somebody else. I don't have anything else to say. That's as plain as I can put it. We really have to focus on just trying to do the right thing and not allowing all of our shortcomings or our weaknesses to dominate our spirit and our purpose in life. And I pray that the Creator will allow this portion and everything that we've been talking about all day to be an impetus, a starting point, a spark that will help us to do better as we try to move forward. There's so many things that we're suffering as Israelites that, it's amazing that we've survived the way we have. But we can't blame anybody else anymore. There's a lot of these things we have to take control over. The things that we can control, we have to take control over them so that we can individually progress and then we as a nation, as families can progress. And there is no shortcut to that. There just isn't. There's no magic formula. It takes work, sacrifice, self-control, all of these things to get us through. May y'all bless us all, including myself, that we can make that happen, and may He bless you as the week goes on. Go ahead and help you time and attention.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Great job. Let's give him a round of applause. Hallelujah. You would do y'all the most high y'all understand and walk the shop. Brothers and sisters, we have to count the old man. I meant to do that earlier today. I apologize. We read it in the portion today. And in the book of Leviticus, the 23rd chapter, as we read this morning on Eliel, it said that ye shall count unto you from the morrow after the day of rest. And of course we know that to mean after the day of the Shabbat. He said, from the day that ye bought the sheep of waving, 7 weeks there shall be complete. But in the Hebrew it says, Sheba Shabbatot Temimot, Tiyena, 7 complete Shabbatot. And that's what we're counting. We're counting Shabbatot, we're not counting days. So last week would have been Shabbat Echad. Of course, we weren't here last week. And so this week, we counted a complete week. So this Shabbat today would have been Shabbat Sheni, okay? So we're counting for Shabbat Sheni.
And at the top here, you see, it says, Anaktu Samachim La'asot Et Toratka Yehovah Al-Seferet Et HaOmer. That's what we call it, the Omer, because actually you really just counting Shabtot. But because it was dealing with the wheat harvest, like Kohen Eliel was speaking about, that Omer, a lot of times associated with the sheaf and things like that, the bushels that you would turn, that you would turn in and what have you. That's basically what it is. But we're counting Shabtot. Meaning, Anakum Samakim La'asot Et Toratka. We are happy to do thy law, Yehovah Al-Seferet Et HaOmer, on the counting, from the word mispar, which means numbering or counting. Al-Seferet Et HaOmer. And of course we know that Omer is the 10th part of an effort. So we'll say it together, and when we get to that part,
This is Shabbat Sheni. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
So we begin by saying, Anachnu Samakim La'asot Et Toratka Yehovah Al-Seferet Et HaOmer Ze'et Shabbat Sheni. Hallelujah. So we turn to page, so that means that we have what? 5 more weeks? Shabtot. 5 more complete Shabtot. And then on that 7th Shabbat, on the morrow after the 7th Shabbat, is the holy day of what? Chag Shavuot. Hallelujah.
So on page 11, let us say our final prayer about the Shabbat,
and we'll be doing the counting on there, like I said, for the next Shabtot, next 5 Shabtot. Hallelujah. Sacrifices and meal offerings are not found in our hands. Father of mercy, yet thy law standeth firm. Accept the words of our lips and the murmurings of our hearts. Receive our prayers and mercy and favor. Grant us joy and gladness. Comfort thy people. Lord, answer thee in the day of trouble. The name of the power of Israel set thee up on high. Draw us not away now with the wicked, for our delight is in thy word. Let thy word heal us and cause us to prosper. Cause thy wisdom to blanket Israel. Let the visions of the righteous be our lot. Yea, even the dreams of thy redeemed, our good fortune. Draw us with cords of love, and let our borders be truth. Into thy hand I commit my spirit. All praises unto thee, O Yah. We have thought of thy loving kindness. We rejoice in the house of Yah. Come behold the works of Yah and rejoice in the same. For he has rescued his people Israel. He has called forth the dispersed of Yaakov. He caused his righteousness to stand where calamity was. For such is our power forever and ever. He will be our God henceforth eternally. Sing his praise aloud. Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Yehovah Melech Hagadol. Melech Haolam Moreh Hakol Yevayim. You've been a great king on high, the creator and maker of the heaven, the earth, the sea, and all that in the midst. We call upon thy great name, O Yah. We thank you for this beautiful holy Shabbat day. The opportunity to come out to worship and even to glorify thy name for all the goodness that you have bestowed upon us. We thank you for the precious gift of life, for the ability to live, O great King, for the ability to have one another, for the ability to even learn about the ways of life. Asking and praying that you will bless our root, our spirits, that we'll be able to even apply the things that we learn, that we will become better individuals, that we will be there for one another, to help one another, that we will support one another, that we will encourage one another, O Yah. We ask and we pray that your Holy Spirit will continue to reside within us. We ask and we pray that you will be with us for the Shavua Haba, even the week to come, that we will have a great week, that we will have a prosperous week, oh God, that you will bless our minds to remain positive and have great thoughts, that have thoughts of you, even have thoughts of peace, oh great King. We ask and we pray that you will be with us and continue to heal us, continue to help us overcome any temptations or any vices that we may have, knowing that we have a desire to do what's pleasing and right before thee. And we pray that you'll even help us even overcome and even stand up and be the men and the women that you have even created us to be. And that's to glorify thy name, and that's to help save this world, to bring righteous morals even back into this world once again. And we ask for your guidance or your hold. We ask that you will give us the wisdom that we need. Praying that you continue to be with man, that you will continue to be with women, that you will continue to be with the children, oh God, that you continue to be with the elders and those who have a desire to want to worship and serve you, oh Jehovah. We ask for your guidance and your protection, that you will constantly even watch over us and be our help that we need even in these days and time. We thank you for your goodness, and we thank you for your holy Shabbat, that we had the opportunity to gather together. We thank you for all the families who are able to travel in safety and peace to make it to this place, asking that you'll be with them even as they go back to their respective homes, that you'll allow them them to go to their homes to be in peace as well, that they can go home and even give a blessing to their family, and that we can continue to even be there, to even grow before thee in a way that will be pleasing, that we will do great things in our life, and that we will not fall short, but even when we do have our shortcomings, that we will learn from our mistakes and be able to grow and become better before thee. Thou art the great King on high, the omnipotent, omnipresent, and the omniscient one, the ones who know all, the ones who's everywhere, and the one that is there to even help thy people, even Amka Yisrael. Baruch Shem Kedbo, Le'olam Wa'ed, Yehovah Zebaoth, Le'olam Wa'ed, blessed be thy great name forever and ever. Hallelujah! 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 And even in the tongue of our ancient forefathers, we recite this prayer.
Baruch Yehovah Babokweh, Baruch Yehovah Bezoraim, Baruch Yehovah Be'erev, Baruch Yehovah Belayla, Baruch Yehovah Yom Yom, Baruch Yehovah Tamid, Yehovah Eloheinu Baruchusha, Lisloach Lanu Lekol Devarim, Ra'im She'asinu Lefanecha Yom Yom, Veliot Imanu Kol Halayla Hazeh, Lema'an Shemka Yehovah, Elohei Abraham, Yitzchak Israel, Elohei Avotenu Eli, Lishmoa Bekolina, Im Teres Leotka, Lama'an Shemka Yehovah.
Hallelujah!
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 Ezreinu Bashem Yehovah who say Shemayim Waha'eretz. Our help is in the name of Yehovah who created the heaven and the earth. Selah.
Yivarekha Yehovah wa yishmarecha.
Kein Yiratzon.
Ya'ir Yehovah panayo elecha vechunecha.
Kein Yiratzon.
Yisa Yehovah panayo elecha wa yasem lecha shalom.
Kein Yiratzon.
Yehovah bless thee and keep thee. Yehovah cause his face to shine upon thee and be gracious unto thee. Yehovah lift up his countenance upon thee and may he give thee peace. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah! 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 Your kind! Your kind! Your kind! Please be seated. Just a few more moments. We can take care of our secular activities. And we'll be brief.